Welcome to the pre-dawn gloriousness of the African bushveld. I've just got to report 2 male lions roaring and heading towards us. So stay tuned to Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
My name is Brent. I have the incredible VM on camera. And we've just got a report from our northern boundary that there are 2 Birmingham boys roaring and heading towards the northeastern corner of Djuma. We happen to be in the northwestern corner, but we're going to get onto the northern boundary, which is a long straight road going straight east, and hopefully by the time we get down to that corner those lions will have popped up on Djuma. But you never know what might be between us and them. There could be leopard, there could be wild dogs, there could be more lions. So a great way to start the morning on the hunt for big male lions. Now James and Brian are out on the other vehicle. Oh, I don't know how we're going to see that. There is a very big elephant bull, but it is still quite dark and we don't want to put any lights on him. Now that is a big adult bull, probably 40 years old at least. It's quite difficult to tell in this low light, but he's probably close to 10 foot at the shoulder, probably 9 foot at the shoulder. A really big elephant. And as I said, we're on the hunt for male lions, but you never know what's going to pop out. Let's see if we can try and maybe possibly get a bit closer to him. Now he's right at the entrance to the Northern Sabi Sands, a place called Gowrie Gate. And I wonder what he's up to. He looks like he's contemplating life at the moment. He could be listening for breeding herds of females. There are some big musk bulls around at the moment. And a musk bull is a bull that's in a heightened hormonal state and is ready to mate. Let's have a look. And I think I recognize this bull. Aha. There are some more elephants up ahead. So he could be trailing a breeding herd, but I think, let me just get a bit closer. It is who I thought it is. Do you recognize him, Liam? It's the naughty elephant, Mr. Hole in the Ear. I thought I recognized him. Hello, Trouble. So if any of you watch our Safari Live stories, this is the elephant that featured not too long ago. He has a little bit of a mischievous streak, and he has touched the odd vehicle before. But we did have to give him a good stern talking to that when he tried to do it to us. And I think the last person he did it to was Scott. Now with this type of elephant, we've given him a good lesson, but we're not going to try to go any closer, and we don't want him to pick up those bad habits he's hopefully unlearned. Okay, so well, nice to catch up with an old friend, and we're going to move away from him, and maybe we'll see him a bit later on the drive when the light's a bit better. But while we head off after those lions, let's go to James, who's got the only equine we have here.
Indeed, the only equid that we have here, everybody. Good morning to you. My name is James, Brian is on camera, and that is a zebra. Birchall's zebra, Equus burchelli. It is a relatively warm 16 degrees, 61 degrees Fahrenheit if you happen to be living in the 19th century. And it's a very pleasant morning, but I don't think it's going to change temperature too much because of the cloud up above us. You are most welcome. It's very good to have you with us today. It's it's just past sort of 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's the perfect time to be up. Also with us, of course, accompanying us on the vehicle is our special friend, Mr. T, the Thumb, dressed as a
tired thumb with a skew shirt and tie.
Oh dear, a tired thumb with a skew shirt and tie, everybody. He didn't sleep well, possibly had a heavy night at the pub last night and left his tie on, or didn't put it back on properly today. We're going to reverse slightly back because these zebra are walking into the clearing. I thought we'd just roll back, but we can't. We're as live as Brent, so please talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Unlike most of the birds out here at the moment, the last few days very silent from a bird point of view. Otherwise, you can talk to us on the email, questions@wildearth.tv, and it will be lovely to have your questions and comments, especially as we go towards the springtime. So anything you'd like to ask about the seasons here, especially if you're a new viewer, please feel free to do that. And I say this quite often, but if you're thinking about travelling to Africa or you've wondered about it, and sometimes there's some misconceptions about Africa, I think there are often misconceptions about the size, I think there are often misconceptions about the safety. Please ask us anything you like if you're thinking about coming to this wonderful and ancient landscape where humanity began. Well, ask us about where we think you should go, and if you have any concerns, tell us and we'll allay those concerns and recommend some spots for you to go and visit, because it truly is a magnificent continent. There, of course, there's some impala just behind the zebra. It's a little kinship group, this. I don't think... It might be a little group of stallions, young stallions. They like to hang around together, like the Thumb and his friends. It is, it's a young group of stallions. So what they will attempt to do at some stage is take over a group. They will try and kidnap some females from an existing herd stallion, and those females will be his daughters. So they have to go up to the father of a filly, and they have to challenge him. And if they're any good at fighting, well, then they'll win the fight, and they'll go off. They'll sort of kidnap his fillies from him. And if they're not very good, then he will beat them up, and they will sort of join another bachelor group like this until they're strong enough and big enough to challenge a father for his fillies. And interestingly, I've always found this quite endearing about zebra. Whether it's entirely true or not, I don't know. But they say that when a stallion is challenged by a younger buck, even if he does lose, his actual mares, the ones that he's covered and the ones that have been the dams to his offspring, will remain with him. I think that's quite a nice trait. Don't you, Brian? Faithfulness.
Wonderful.
And look at the subtle colours of this morning. That's beautiful. And the sky really is that colour, everybody. Sort of greyish. It's not really greyish, is it, Brian, so much as grey? Yeah. Soporific morning, and I'm going to be quiet for a second, just to give you an idea of how quiet the dawn chorus is. You get an idea, they're very little sound. A little bit from some green woodhoopers. Some very subtle whistling from some blue wax bills going. You may have heard the wing beats of the brown-crowned chagra going krr, 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 krr. And way in the distance, one or two francolins, and of course, Brian, in the distance, the rather strident call of
The hardy-dar ibis.
And what did that sound like, Brian?
Walk, walk. Huh? Huh?
And beyond that, the golden-tailed woodpecker going. Alrighty, on we go. Let's see what we can find. My plan this morning, and therefore your plan, is to head down towards the south and see if we can't find any tracks of Karula coming back in this way. Interesting question, Justin, especially given that you're asking it with Brian and I in the car. You say, do animals ever suffer from insomnia? I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Brian suffers from insomnia, don't you, Brian?
Oh, kind of.
Yes, or sleepwalking more than some insomnia.
Chronic sleep.
Yes, we often find him cooking beef stroganoff at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't sleep last night either, and there was no reason why I shouldn't slept last night. So I wonder if animals ever suffer from insomnia. Again, I think, Justin, it was you we were talking about yesterday, mental illness with animals, or we were talking with various people, but I think you contributed to the conversation. Again, you know, I think so much of what we do, the sort of stimulation we give our brains when we go to bed with our phones and our Facebook and our Instagram and our TVs and that sort of thing, I think it probably contributes substantially to our insomnia. And animals, of course, don't have that. I've not seen an animal with an iPhone, have you, Brian? No, not lately. We like to keep things natural in the Sabi Sands. So I'm going to say no, probably not. Maybe the odd piece of insomnia. I imagine that a windy night, environmental conditions would cause insomnia. Especially, you know, if you happen to be an impala and you thought there were lions about to eat you, well, then you might find it difficult to fall asleep. For fear that you would never wake up. This is a very grey morning indeed. Now, were a leopard to be wandering through the bushes here, we would have to see it with great skill. So while I peer into the thick bushes with great skill, let's head across to Brent and see how his lion tracking is faring.
So I'm cheating a bit on my lion tracking this morning. I heard those lions calling, probably about 10 to 5 this morning, but they happened to walk past one of the Buffelshoek landowners' camps. So the Buffelshoek guys jumped in the car and they are following the lions. And at the moment they're probably about a kilometer from that point on the horizon there. So they're coming from over here and they're coming towards that top point on the horizon. Oh, it's a stick. And we are hoping that by the time we meander down towards there, they're going to pop out onto the Buffelshoek boundary. Or, even better, we might find the Nkuhumas that they might be heading towards. Now, that female and the 3 cubs, her den is also in that area, and the last tracks of the rest of the pride that have been baffling us are also there in that general area. So, fingers crossed that we're going to have lions making many appearances on this sunrise safari. So far, the only tracks we've seen are hyenas, and of course, a few of you thought you might have seen a lion while we were with the elephants, and it must have been the low light because it's actually an impala running across. We're having some interesting weather at the moment with these clouds. Oh, Tina. Tina's coming out to Africa to do a field guide course, and she's asking, what should I study in advance? Tracking or tracking or rifle handling? I just need to listen to this.
Cats have lain down at the junction, North Rock Road.
Oh, Naughty lions. They've gone flat, probably about 400 meters from our boundary. They might get moving again, so we're going to keep looking for the Nkuhumas and see if we get any luck there. Now, Tina, back to your question. Now, depending on where you are, tracking for me is a very difficult one to study from a book. I've never been able to really identify with the drawings of tracks. I've always found it, but maybe that's just the way my brain works. I've always found it much easier to see them on the ground and learn like that. I would say I would just study your general knowledge information on animals. So, gestation periods, habits, and sizes, weights, because all of that stuff's going to be in the test you're going to have to write. And rifle handling, if you have access to a rifle, is probably the thing most field guides fail. And I'm pretty sure online somewhere you can see the 15 or the ARH training. And I would recommend if you do have access to a rifle, even if it's not as big as a 375 or 458, which we use out here, is if you get it and all you do is you just cock load, even if it's empty, just keep loading it and get that muscle memory going, because that's the thing that people struggle with the most, is loading at the shoulder. So keep it on your shoulder and load, reload, and the more you do that, and the longer you do that for, the better your muscle memory comes. And I know for a fact that, I mean, if I pick up a rifle now, I don't even have to think. It's tick, 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 tick. It's ingrained in me. But I would say trees is a very good one to learn. So even if it's quite difficult to learn trees from photographs, but think about the most common trees. It depends on where you're going on your guiding course, but definitely learn medicinal uses, historical facts, all that type of stuff about the bush willows. If you're doing your guiding course in South Africa, almost everywhere in South Africa you're going to have the bush willow family: red bush willow, russet bush willow, river bush willow, large fruited bush willow, variable bush willow, all of those. Learn about jackalberry scotias, and the more pre-reading you do, I would say, is the most important on trees and the animals. And then the practical knowledge you can pick up once you're out here. Hi, Shane. Shane is on the Emerald Isle Island, the land of no snakes. And Shane is saying, do lions ever come to where you live? Do you have security measures in place? Well, security measure, the most important thing, and Tina, this is something you should remember as well, the most important thing you can have in terms of safety in the bush is a good torch. Far more important than, again, VM's got one, I've got one, everyone's got a very good torch. Now, lions during the day are generally going to avoid where you live, but at night, they're a different animal. They're far more brazen. They're the dominant nocturnal predator, and so they will come very close to where you live, sometimes even into where you live. And the most important thing is don't wander away from your home or camp at night. That is a surefire way of becoming permanently retired and lion feces. And the other thing is use your torch. Now what the torch does, it gives you 50, 60 meters if you've got a good torch to decide what to do. And remember, lions are unlikely to start attacking or charging in the run for the kill at that distance. They're normally going to try to get a bit closer. So you can either climb a tree, you can get into an area of safety. And the best form of security, Shane, is vigilance and knowing what to do in those situations. And the most important thing is, whatever you do, day or night, don't run. You are running, you are making yourself lovely. What do you see? Oh, more Ellies. And a bit of a better light. Looks like lots of them. I think if we go forward a bit, we might get a view of them out in the open. I just want to check down at the waterhole. There could be some already down there. Doesn't look like they're any at the waterhole. They're still up here on the crest feeding. Nice herd. Difficult to say exactly how many. They're quite spread out, which is not unusual while elephants are feeding. You just hear branches breaking all over the place. Oh, there's a almost always present fork-tailed drongo flashing through screen. Looking for any insects that the elephants are disturbing. There he is. Boop. The great opportunists of the flycatcher world. Wherever there's a large mammal moving about. And we even get them following our cars when we're off-roading in case we disturb something. Let's just try a little bit further forward again. Oh, there are a lot in these thickets. There's an open patch coming up. Let's see if we've got a view through here. Oh dear, unfortunately not. They seem to be moving parallel to us through the thickets here on the crest of the hill. We can hear them all over the place. Okay, well, it seems to be an Ellie day so far. So we've arrived. It's a lion. Is that a lion, Jim? Or a leopard? You see what I'm looking at? I think it's a lion. It is, it's a lion. And a cub. Or am I imagining a cub? I thought I saw a cub. Just the lioness. Well, there we go. So far, my plan's working out quite well. So a lot of finding these animals is actually... So I know where the one lioness was. I know where the last tracks of the rest of the pride were. So it's sort of trying to guess, if I was a lion, where would I go? So, of course, most of the time we actually have to follow the footprints. They're the cubs. Running. There's cubs there. Just, there we go. So there are lion cubs there, there's a lioness there. Oh, there's like little house cats scuttling away into the bush. Now, I wonder, is this the female with the 3 little cubs? And has she left them at Buffelshoek Dam? That's quite a risky maneuver. But we're going to try to figure out what's going on. And while we do that, let's go see what James has got.
Well, that's very exciting, everybody. We have actually moved since you last saw us. These are just a different group of zebra, lots of them now, heading south. They've spent the night at Djuma, obviously partying it up, and now they're heading home to Little Gowrie. Alternatively, they could be sort of going south for breakfast from home. I know that is completely ridiculous, but they're heading on to the south of the reserve. Wonderful news that we've got some lions there. Brilliant stuff, and even better news that you haven't had to drive through the windy, impenetrable forest to see them. It's turning into a rather splendid morning here. Look at them, what they're eating there. Largely the grass, but one or two of those leaves going in. Look at the copper-coloured leaves. Oh, it's lovely. Hello, Greg in Colorado. You're wondering about the birds and why it is I think they've been so silent over the last little while. I don't know, Greg. I'm quite confused by it. You know, it's not like it's always been cloudy like this. It's not like it's actually been very sunny and warm, and maybe the sudden warmth has done it. A sudden change in temperatures. Could have been that, I'm not sure. But these mornings, I remember last year the mornings being particularly quiet at this time of the year. Let's just have one last look at these zebras. Just because their colour is so pretty. Walking, there's not an ounce of green in that shot. Which of course for the wilderness is very unusual, Brian. I mean, there are birds calling. It just doesn't seem as enthusiastic as it does normally. Maybe they're just gearing up for the spring. Because come September and October, they'll be yelling their heads off. The other thing, of course, that will come out as soon as the first rains hit us, the cicada. They will emerge from the ground and start yelling that incredibly loudly. Let me move forward so we can see the head of the zebra. Hello, Michael. Nice to have you with us. Please tell us where you're from next time you talk to us. You are 18 as far as I can tell. Michael, you want to know what my favourite thing about the spring is? I suppose it would be the rain, you know. Just the simple fact of having rain in the springtime is a real joy, and then the smells that come with it, the smells of petrichor, which of course we know is that smell of the oils being released, or fungus, some say oil, some say fungus spores, being released from the earth at the first rains. We're actually rolling quite nicely here. We'll leave the engine off. Michael, and then there's the flowers, the very subtle smells of the flowers. We don't have a great number of very smelly flowers here, but we have some very subtly and very pleasantly scented flowers. And then of course the change in the colour. So it's quite difficult to say what my favourite thing about the spring is, but there are lots and lots of different beautiful things that happen during the springtime. There's always such a sense of expectation, and I think that's the world over, you know. It's almost an instinctual response to spring, knowing that the new life is about to emerge. Hello, Tiffany in Oklahoma. You're wondering about tornadoes and whether our spring brings tornadoes. Tiffany, it does not. I'm not really sure what environmental conditions cause tornadoes, but I think one of the prerequisites for a tornado is very flat landscape. Now, we don't have a very hilly landscape, but it's also not very flat. It's gently undulating up and down all over the place, and I think you in around Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken, have got a very flat landscape, and that apparently gives rise, along with a number of other environmental conditions, but that apparently does give rise to tornadoes. So we don't get them here, no. The worst kind of weather, or the most severe weather we can get, are big storms coming out of the Mozambican Channel, and what you would call a hurricane in the Southern Ocean we call a cyclone. And the cyclones can hit Mozambique to the east of us, and then those big storms blow in here, and if we're going to flood, that's where the rain will come from. So that's the kind of most severe weather system that we would have in this area. That would just be a very severe rainstorm. And just to give you an idea, I spoke too soon. I probably jinxed Brent's sighting. Apparently those cubs have gone into some very thick bush, and so far from being out of the windy impenetrable forest, I think Brent's right back in it. Anyway, he's trying to find them, and as soon as he does, we'll go back to him. So let's just give him a bit of time to see if he can't find and settle with those cubs and their mum. I'm hoping desperately that Karula has come up or down over this road. This is the southern boundary of Djuma. Hello Lindsay, you say you want to visit South Africa but your mother is worried that it's not safe. And could I recommend a safe town? Well, yes, I'm sure I could. Lindsay, first of all, you need to tell me how old you are, and secondly, you need to tell me where you live, because I'll be able to compare how dangerous it is where you live compared to the danger that there is here. If I were you, I'm assuming you want to come on safari and you don't just want to come to a town. Well, you have to fly into Johannesburg, but you don't need to ever leave the confines of the airport if you don't want to. There are parts of Johannesburg that I wouldn't travel if I didn't know it well, but there are many, many parts of Johannesburg that are completely safe, just like the suburbs of New York or, you know, suburbs of any other big city in the United States. And then I would recommend that if you wanted to stay in a town, you go to Cape Town perhaps, which is really geared up very nicely for tourists. Alternatively, you could come to the bush, and you could come to the Kruger National Park, and you could stay very safely. You could either fly in or you could drive in, depending on whether you like to drive on the left-hand side of the road or the right-hand side of the road. And that would be perfectly safe for you to do. And traveling around the Kruger on your own would be perfectly safe as well. So I really don't think you should worry about that. Well spotted, Brian. Brian spotted some waterbuck. Good question. Thank you, Lindsay. Hello, Honey's Ocelot, all the way from Nevada. You want to know, you say you're looking at a satellite map of Djuma and you want to know where the nearest pub is. Well, the nearest public convenience, I suspect you will know. Well, no, that's a loo. We don't want to talk about that. The nearest public drinking house, shall we say, would be something called a shebeen. And you wouldn't find it at Djuma, nor would you find it in the Sabi Sand. But you would find it in Dixie Village, which is just outside the northern Sabi Sand. And it won't be marked on Google Maps, probably because it's an illegal drinking house, and, well, probably has an arrangement with the authorities that I suspect it falls in some sort of legal grey area. And that would be where you went if you wanted to have a sort of drink there. They sell beer by the quart, Coca-Cola by the 2 litre, and there you might sit listening to some beaten up speakers. Very good, pleasant thing to do of a late evening. I haven't done it for a while, but it's quite a fun thing to do. But that's where you'd find it. It would be what we call, like I say, a shebeen, which is basically a shack with a serving counter and some fridges. Thank you for that question. Now that is the waterbuck's buttocks there, of course. I think waterbucks are the cleverest colour to be out here. See that? They disappear. So Lindsay, if you're thinking of coming on safari, you can dress like a waterbuck and you'll become totally invisible. Then you'll be even safer. I'm being totally facetious, Lindsay. You can wear what you like. But you see how beautifully it blends in? Grey and brown. Alright, Brenty's got the Lioness, but I don't know that he's got the cubs, so let's go and find out from him where they've gone. I'll continue my patrol down here to see if I can find tracks of the Great Queen.
Here we go. So we try to stick with the female and the cubs, but she's gone into quite an impenetrable area. We will try again a bit later, but I thought let's go with one cat in the bag, and maybe she might head in that direction. I wonder where the rest of the pride is. So I'm quite sure that the female we saw with the cubs, or we just saw that very brief glimpse of the cubs, was the same female we spent time with on yesterday's sunset safari. And I just wonder where the other 3 girls and 5 cubs are. Let's hope she starts calling for them. Now, it's not uncommon for lionesses to get split up from time to time. Sometimes it happens during a hunt. Other times, this female might have gone to say hello to the female with the cubs and been separated. But they find each other relatively easy by contact calling and by scent. Hello, pretty lady. And that's why she was moving quite quickly with them. There's definitely something that seems to be interesting to the west. Now, Chris Rhodes says she looks pink. Now, I'm not sure whether that's... Oh, no, I've got my binoculars caught here. Sorry about the noises. I just want to have a look through my binoculars. So when there's a pinkish hue on the chest and face of a lion, it generally means they've been eating. I think it could just be the strange light this morning. What do you think, Vim? So the only thing I can say for sure, if we look at her bottom jaws, she's been drinking. The little black goatee she's sporting is a sign that she's had a drink, probably in the Buffalo's Hook waterhole. We're just going to move the vehicle. There's another car about to arrive just to make space for both of us. Also, I want to have a seat if I can check through the thicket here. And she keeps looking. I wonder if the other lions are lying not too far away. Here we go. Now, I can't see if this is one of the lactating females yet, or if it's amber eyes. As I said, the light is quite dull this morning. Let me have a look through my binoculars. It is amber. It is the amber-eyed lioness. So there, as we're a bit closer, you can see that. So it looks like she's got a little bit of a dark goatee, and it's just wet from having a drink. And looking at my monitor, I can see what Chris is saying, that she does look a bit pink. But if I look through my binoculars, I don't see it. I think it could just be the light and the way the camera is reading the light this morning. Well, there we go. Everyone's normally looking for pink elephants. We've got a pink lioness. Now she's looking towards where the female and the cubs went. She does look quite comfortable in the middle of the road. Not a bad Tuesday morning traffic jam. Oh, there you go, the eyes. Now, we did have a brief glimpse of those cubs as they disappeared, and Suzanne is wondering, how long does a lioness keep her cubs away from the other pride members? Well, it completely depends. There's no fixed and set rule, but it's generally 6 to 8 weeks. I have sometimes as long as 10 weeks. So, but 8 weeks is probably the best, the most general age that she'll introduce them to the pride, but sometimes it can be 10, 11 weeks, and sometimes as young as 6 weeks. Now, quite interestingly, there's a bit of research being done at the moment about lionesses sort of syncing their estrus cycles. So when they give birth, they all give birth around a similar time. And this helps in a social predator like lions because they are able to allo-groom, allo-suckle, sorry, not allo-groom. Lions do allo-grooming, but allo-suckling far more important. So we've seen this now with the Nkuhumas. Oh, she's watching the geese. So, at the moment now, there are going to be 3 lionesses with cubs ranging from about 8-9 weeks to about 14-15 weeks. So, and the lionesses will generally lactate till about 6 months. So there's 3 lionesses who are going to be able to suckle those cubs for the next 6 months or 7 months or so. But as they get older, little lions, and as I said, as they're weaned, I mean, even at this young age, well, at 8 weeks or whatnot, they're already starting to eat meat. I wonder if, are there more lions behind her? Liam, can you see from where you are? She's looking down the road. No sign. Now, are you going to get up and go find the rest of the pride, or are you going to have a snooze, miss? There's one fly buzzing around her nose. So both Dave and Silverback are wondering, what is the weight difference between an adult lioness and an adult male lion? Now, Amber's a pretty big lioness. I'd say she's probably about 120 kilograms, so 250 odd pounds. And really big lioness can get up to about 150 kilos, so just over 300 pounds. But a big male can get to about the biggest male ever recorded is over 600 pounds, 300 kilos. But on average, in this part of the world, you're looking at about between 200 and 220 kilograms for a male lion. Oh, here comes a yawn. And so that's about 450 pounds or so. The Birmingham boys are actually not the biggest male lions around. They're probably, I'd say, under 200 kilograms, probably 190 odd. But with a lot of cases, it's not always the biggest individual that's the most dominant. It's the most aggressive individual. So the Birminghams, what they lack in size, they make up for with attitude. So, sorry guys. So this little drainage line here, she went straight in there. We try to get around, but it gets to the top there. There's about 4 little drainage lines. I'll try again a bit later, see if we can find a spot to get in. I think it is, with the 3 cubs. So I'm not sure where the other 3 lionesses are with the 5 cubs. I'm pretty sure they're somewhere in this area. Yeah, they're about 14 weeks old now. Cheers, enjoy. So this is the lion we spotted first this morning. Arathusa is wondering, do lionesses have favorite members of the pride that they're less likely... Oh, here comes a yawn. There we go, contact calling. Arathusa, I'll get to your question now. So that low little call is looking for other members of the pride. Almost a sigh. Come on, guys. It's almost that what you get when you're trying to phone someone who never answers their cell phone. Like, come on, answer your phone. But sorry, Arathusa. Arathusa is asking, do members of the pride have favorite members that they're less likely to spend more time away from? I wouldn't say so. I'd say a lion pride is a very close... Okay. Oh, every time I start to answer your question, she starts contact calling again. But a lion pride, a female lion pride, even a male... Even a male coalition is a very tightly formed bond. and I'd say they're equally excited to see all members of the pride. Now, the genetic strength of a lion pride rests with the females. So, Lioness will generally take a bit more care in raising female cubs, which is the opposite to a leopard, where the genetic strength, even for the females, lies within the male. So that is why female leopard take more time to raise male cubs. It'll spread their genetic line further and wider, whereas with lions, the genetic strength lies with the pride as the males chop and change about every 4 or 5 years. Oh yeah, sorry, I just need to be on the radio. Copy Orby, I'm sure that's the Mafazi we saw. She was going quite quickly up that drainage. We've still got one sati here at Buffelshoek Dam, and those 2 Madoda I think were left unattended at North Rock Road junction with Gari Buffelshoek Katline. The calls are getting a bit stronger. Now, Tasha's wondering, will they... Oh, you weren't coming. Will the amber-eyed lioness be able to suckle the cubs if she's pregnant? Yes, Tasha. If she gives birth and there are still cubs around, she will be able to suckle them. Now, is she going to get on the move? Hopefully. I've got some slightly bad news, is that female with the 3 cubs has crossed into Buffelshoek. Aubrey just saw her tracks now. Now let's hope the rest of the pride are not in Buffelshoek. I haven't checked the tracks further to the east, so I'm not sure. Now, she's not starving, but she could definitely eat. We're going to get ready for some lovely screenshots. Beautiful early morning lights about to creep through the cloud and illuminate one of our favorite lionesses. So if you do get any good screenshots, share them with us, and you can do that by using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or pop them on our Facebook page, Safari Live. There she goes into past the rising sun. She spotted those elephants we had earlier. So she's looking directly. We can just make out the elephants in the distance. That's what she's watching. Probably just picked up the movement and she's decided, no, elephants, that's a bit risky by myself. Still contact calling. Hopefully he calls those males across towards us. Are you going to go for another drink? Oh, you're on the move. I think she's smelling where the lioness and the cubs was. Let's hope she doesn't decide to follow their scent outside of our traverse area. You're hearing that clickety click? It's just me taking a few shots. Now, at the moment, she's not roaring fully. She's just contact calling. But Mercedes in California is wondering, is the roar of a lioness different to that of a male? It is. It's just not as deep and not as loud. Okay, well, I'm just going to have to shoot round. There she comes. Oh, you're going to take a rest. Okay, we'll get a bit closer. Found herself a nice little vantage point. I'm hoping these contact calls turn into a full roar. Mercedes, then you'll be able to hear the roar of the lioness. Yeah, the blacksmith lapwings are not impressed with her presence. There they are. Go Ellie, go Ellie. It looked like she heard something there. Her ears picked up. Shh, plovers, I'm trying to listen. Or lapwings, used to be called plovers. Thank you. Oh. Trying to keep quiet to see if I can hear any responses to her contact calls. But with the lapwings making as much noise as they are, that is quite difficult. Of course, with her infinitely better hearing than mine, she will be able to hear responses even with the lapwings chinking away. So we're going to sit here, see what plays out with the amber-eyed lioness. While we do that, let's go see what James has got. Oh, another lioness. So someone heard those contact calls. Hello. I wonder if this is the female who's stashed the cubs and now come back. You're not even going to go say hello, Amber? Or you're going to ambush and jump. Oh, here we go. Watch this, watch this. Isn't this spectacular? Ooh. Interesting. Oh, it's the cubs. The cubs are back. We can't just see them. So this lioness might be a little bit more protected than usual. I don't think these cubs have been introduced yet. If there's 3 of them. Oh, little fluffies. Oh, isn't this too precious? Now, this, as far as we know, is the first introduction of the new cubs to any other Pride member. And they're nervous around another lion, and that's not uncommon. As you can see, they're very used to us, but they're not used to other lions. They only know Mom and each other. Mom's going to stick with them. Aubrey. Aubrey, that one sati with a 3-month impan has brought them back to Waterbuck Dam, so we've got 2 one sati and 3-month impan. So it's the cubs that are nervous of another lioness, and that's why they've moved off and caused Mom to move off as well. This might be their first ever sighting of another member of the Nkuhuma Pride. See, the cubs don't want to be around Amber. You can see they're looking a bit more confident the further they get from her. Now it's going to be interesting to see if she calls them back and comes back towards the other lioness, or Amber Eyes, who's sitting above us. Oh, look at that. Looking down on us. It's not often we get looked down upon by a lion. Them, how are you feeling? A bit nervous? You okay? No? Okay, good. It is quite spectacular. Standing by. FM, just come very, very slowly. I think this is the first introduction of these 3 cubs to another lioness, so the cubs are a lot more skittish than they normally are. So we're not going to move. We don't want to add any extra drama. Here come the cubs running back, Sam. Isn't this just too special? It looks like one made a false step into the mud of the Buffalo's Hook waterhole. So it's going to be a gradual process introducing cubs to the Pride. It's the cubs who are not relaxed, and we immediately saw old Amber snarl a little bit, but that's because of the very dominant and defensive pose Mom put on in front of her.
Okay, good luck. I'll let you know about these dogs again.
So there's the cub that took one step too far into Buffel's hook, the one in the middle. Oh, she's going to try bring them back towards Amber. This is incredible. This is not behavior you get to see very often. And normally introductions are done when there's a kill. So a nice stable sighting. Okay, we're going to move around. Try and get a bit higher, just so we can see what's going on. We're still going to keep our distance a little bit. Okay, there we go. So there's Amber. There comes the mom. I can't see the cubs just yet. Mom might call them closer. Yeah, no, they're right there. That's the closest they've been to Amber Eyes so far. Look, one is checking out Amber Eyes. There we go. That must be a little boy. Oh, this could be very, very interesting. What's going to happen? Okay. Well, it seems to be it's standing right next to you, having a little sniff. Not quite sure. Like, all this looks like my mom. Doesn't smell like my mom. But she's not trying to eat me yet. Look at those rotund little bellies full of milk. I'm going to go back to Mom. Mom, I know Mom. Isn't this amazing? We're getting to see this incredible insight into the private lives of lions. Now, not many people get to see this type of behavior, and I'm so happy that everyone out on the Sunrise Safari has been able to join us for this. Now, we can't definitely say it's the first time those cubs have met. Oh, here we go. Coming out again. Have met Amber. But it definitely looks like it, just from the behavior. If it's not the first, it's the second. There we go. Second cub. And we were saying just yesterday that it's got to be in the next week or so that the cubs are going to be introduced to the rest of the Nkuhuma pride. I know it's not the full pride yet, but it's definitely a start. Andrew is wondering, has a female ever not introduced her cubs to the pride before? It's unusual. I haven't heard of anything, but there's cases of nomadic females who do breed, but they don't hold a pride. But that's because they don't have a pride, and it's very unusual for those cubs to ever survive. Well, look, there's little muddy paws. They're getting a little bit braver with Amber. She's been quite nice and calm. Just come to the right of me and go a little bit further forward. You should have a very nice view there. So they're going to go back to Mom, but they should come back out again, and we're just going to sit patiently here. As I said, this looks like the first introduction of the cubs to another member of the pride. So they're not too relaxed yet. So you'll probably find they'll do a lot of these little forays from Mom back closer and closer to the amber-eyed lioness. Now it leaves the question, where are the rest of the Nkuhumas? Just playing. I think they drank earlier because the one cub's got mud all the way up its legs, so I think it took one step too deep into the mud. So yeah, that looks like the little boy, the little male cub, and he's just a little bit more brave than the two ladies. A comment from Shamsung says, an insight into the private life of lions, such a privilege. Indeed it is, and it is incredible we're able to follow the lives of all these animals here on Djuma on a daily basis. And I think Amber's happy that someone answered her contact calls. She's going to have a snooze. Oh, here we go. So you're getting more brave and more brave. Realizing, oh. It's going to be interesting to see how Amber Eyes reacts. And she's very tolerant of the other cubs, so I presume she'd be just as tolerant of these. But as you can see, it's going to take them a while before they're as comfortable and confident with her as the other little 5 cubs are. Aqua says, with this sighting, these little cubs have broken the cute-o-meter. Well, we've always said little lion cubs are definitely the cutest in the bush, cuter than leopards, cuter than baby hyenas. Mom's playing quite a lot with the cubs. They are hidden by a little thicket, so we're going to wait for them to pop out again, and while we do that, let's go see what James has got.
What a little owlet, everybody. It's a pearl-spotted owl. I think you can see that from the fact that it's got those eyes in the back of its head. See that? Brian, can you brighten that at all? I think that's an eye I can see in the back of the head there. Yes, it is. Look at it wagging its tails because it's happy to see us, Brian. You see that? There we go. Isn't that sweet? There you can see the eyes in the back of its head. How cool is that, everyone? There he's turned round. Still wagging his tail. Now I tried to talk to him, but he would... Oh, he's gone. Now what happened was that there were two red-breasted swallows going... There they go. Isn't that cool? Are they mosque swallows or are they red-breasted, Brian? Let me look. They're red-breasted. Isn't that lovely call? I don't know if you heard it. Hear that? Crick, crick, crick. How cool is that? And they're only in the air because that owl went to sit in the tree that they were resting on in the light of the early morning sun. It's turned into a rather beautiful morning. There's some blue sky behind and some heavy grey cloud to the south, which gives it a lovely ominous feel. Look at them fly. The processes that are going on in that bird's brain for them to be able to fly like that, the protection of the brain for the G-force that they pull. The G-force they pull is far greater than any G-force that a fighter pilot might pull in a supersonic fighter jet. They change direction much faster. Ah, it's so cool. Isn't that wonderful, everyone? Brilliant camera work from old Brian, despite the fact that his thumb is so dishevelled this morning. And that really is quite astonishing, I must tell you. And we of course are now awaiting the return of the barn swallows. They will have left Britain and Europe by now. How cool is that? They don't want to land.
No.
I just want to quickly see. I don't know what they're eating at this time of the year. Let me just quickly look it up while you watch them. Brilliant that we've had those lions. Just fantastic. Right, red-breasted swallow. I don't know if you can hear, just listen carefully. No. There was another pearl-spotted owl calling a long, long way away. It is just aerial insects that they eat, everyone, so they will have to find insects to eat. I didn't think there were any, you know, until Brian pointed out the other night as we pulled into the workshop where we parked the cars. The neon light there and its cover is now filled with insects. And that's been since the winter began. So there obviously are aerial insects flying around, almost imperceptible, almost invisible. There we are. The red-breasted swallow hunting for aerial insects because they were disturbed by the pearl-spotted owl. I'm going to sit here watching these things for a little bit longer. The lion cubs have re-emerged out of the bushes, so let's go and have a look at them.
So they've popped out again. And still not going that close to the amber-eyed lioness. That looks like the little boy again, surveying his domain. Now, Tatty's wondering, does a lioness seeing another member of the pride's cubs have a biological or hormonal effect on them? Well, Tatty, probably not. Most of the... Oh, there we go. Wait, just hang on, Tatty. We'll get back to your question now. Mom's moving out towards where the amber-eyed lioness is. Now, remember that initial aggression we saw now seems to have gone. And this is Mom now encouraging the cubs to come even closer. The other two are wrestling away in the thicket, but they should come out shortly. Oh, it's tired, kitty. Isn't that just absolutely gorgeous? Back to back Nkuhuma lionesses. All the amber eyes is watching the elephants move through the bush. Angel's wondering, how old will these cubs be before they start eating meat? If meat is available to them, they will eat it at as young as 6 weeks. These guys are probably 8-9 weeks old now, so they would definitely eat meat if they were taken to a carcass. Cubs are playing in the thicket, so we'll wait for them to come out again. And we're just seeing what's happening. Well, Nancy would like to keep them at this size forever. They're so adorable. That they are, Nancy, but for the future of the pride, the more of the female cubs that make it to adulthood, the better. Well, there we go. About to pop out into the open again, all but tackled beforehand. There we go. All three out now. Might use Mom as a springboard to climb onto Auntie. Oh, look at that, look at that. One little cub touching faces with amber eyes. All three out again. So from this age onwards, they're going to get a lot more boisterous, a lot more playful, especially after they're introduced to their other 5 little cubs of the Nkuhuma pride. I think we're going to be spoilt for the next little while when it comes to cub viewing. Not to say we haven't been spoilt already. Sometimes it's just wonderful to sit quietly and watch the shenanigans. Oh, I thought for a second one of them had got hold of Amber's tail, but it's Mom's tail. Probably not quite brave enough just yet for the auntie's tail, but Mom's tail is a favorite toy. Oh, let's see. Amber seems to be ignoring quite well. Oh, it's seen Amber's tail, it's moving. Could this be the cub's first faux pas? They've just spotted the elephants. The little cubs. They've just spotted the elephants on the other side of the dam. I don't think the elephants are going to hold their attention for too long, not with tails around. Now, I don't think we could ask for a better lion sighting than this. Tasha, there we go. Tasha's wondering whether the amber-eyed lioness would be rough with them because it's their first time meeting them. Tasha, you never know. Sometimes lionesses can be quite aggressive the first time meeting cubs, specifically if the cubs bite their tails or do anything like that. But so far, Amber seems to have been the doting aunt. Look at that. Perfect light and perfect little cubs. Oh, don't look at Amber's tail. That might get you into trouble. Uh-oh. Oh, tail. Oh, not quite brave enough with amber yet to attack her tail. Well, attack a sibling instead. Hi, Michael. Michael's 18 years old, and Michael would like to know. So, well, he says it seems that female cubs are slightly more timid than the males. And is there a reason for that? An ecological reason? Yes, Michael. I mean, males need to have that sort of bolder, more aggressive stance because they have to leave the pride at about 3 years old and go set up for themselves. So that'll be the reason that males are generally a little bit more bold. Oh, complaining. Isn't this just picture perfect? So I said we can't be 100% sure that this is the first introduction of the cubs to another lioness, but for me, it just from the behavior-wise, it does look like that. Every now and then you'll notice the lions look over to our right, and there's a herd of elephants feeding through there. You can just see some bottoms. There we go. There's an elephant bottom. But while we sit here and continue to observe what we think is the first introduction of the Nkuhuma's latest cubs to the amber-eyed lioness, let's go see how James is doing.
So wild.